I'm just salty about Colin not being involved. I think he would have laid down some great stuff on this. Colin had a really warm, kind of smooth sound. I just was always really drawn to that in the age of really gritty bass tones. I always liked his kind of soothing, mellow bass tones. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. It's time for Porcupine Tree to have some love here on the channel, but I've been a very lazy Porcupine Tree fan and did not check out this new record when it came and went last year in 2022. Their 11th studio album, Closure/Continuation, was the first since 2009's The Incident, and I was just, honestly, guys, I was just really salty about Colin Edwin not returning. I love him as a bass player. I loved his parts on In Absentia, Fear of a Blank Planet, those last 4 albums before this one. And I was just really bummed about it. But I've really been lazy and just haven't sat down and listened to it. This is not a band to just passively listen to. It's kind of like Tool. So I wanted to check it out here on the channel with you guys. That's what we're doing today. Harridan was the lead single from this record. And I did not know that there was an in-studio performance. I was looking for the album audio here on YouTube and saw that there was like a studio cut. So that would be cool to check it out. Let's do it. Harridan, Porcupine Tree from 2022's Closure/Continuum. Interesting tone. Okay. But that part is groovy and got a tricky phrasing. Back on the low B. I've never seen Steven play bass, but as salty as I am about Colin Edwin not being in that chair, I'm so glad Gavin Harrison at least is. Man, talk about one of my favorite drummers ever. And I can already tell this is sort of odd meter. I'm not really counting. I'm kind of listening to those bass part notes, but let me go back and kind of hear that intro. Gavin Harrison is the king of making odd meters sound like 4/4. I mean, I love guys like Mike Portnoy, Neil Peart, Danny Carey. We've been over this. Gavin Harrison has a way of just making it really buttery. I think the biggest example is the sound of Muzak, however you say it, from In Absentia. I thought that song was in 4/4 very early on for a very long time. I think that's the right song. 7/4. It's the most natural sounding 7/4, just the way he chooses those kick placements. And I could talk a lot about that. We're on Harridan, but I love his ability to make anything sound very natural. I think that's the key about odd time signatures. If you can make them sound natural and you're not doing it just to be in an odd time signature, that's a true gift. It's very hard to do. Okay. Five, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He does those little rolls and embellishments, like kind of on the last beat, which kind of distracts you from counting it, and it's almost kind of just a flub into the next bar. Not in a sloppy way at all. He's a machine. I just mean in the phrasing, you kind of forget you're counting, and you just feel the whole phrase as it is. That's kind of already what I'm hearing in that drum beat. And this bass riff is sticking around some interesting notes. I didn't realize he was using a pick either. I'm going to listen to that bit and see if I can figure it out.
He knows the truth, but he keeps it to himself.
I don't know if I like that tone. It sounds like a raw DI track to me. Like it's very unprocessed, which is actually kind of cool because Porcupine Tree has a lot of dimension to their production. Some of the best produced records I've honestly ever heard, just sonically. In Absentia, Trains, Blackest Eyes, those songs, I listen to those songs in headphones so much, just admiring the production and the layering. And I know Steven Wilson, again, I followed his solo work a lot more in the last 10 years. He's such a perfectionist. He's mixed some of these classic records. He doesn't do anything by accident or leave anything to chance. I kind of really respect that. A true eccentric artist to me who just is obsessed with details, and he wouldn't just use a bass tone like that. I think what I'm trying to say is that he's choosing that tone to kind of be more of an effect. Like the lack of effects is the effect. It just has a really like rough around the edges, raw, just straight in tone, which kind of, it doesn't sound tight. It kind of sounds bulky, kind of sludgy. And I think that kind of adds to what I'm hearing already, these little, auxiliary effects coming in, which is, a hallmark of his writing. I'm going to shut up now. Let's let this play, but I just wanted to make a few first impressions on that part.
He knows the truth,
Okay.
but he keeps it to himself. Here it is. You can only save yourself. Only
It's a sexy drum beat.
Yeah. When we find the test, we will hide our cards from the world.
That was a cool meter thing there. That's just really cool way to change up that feel and meter. Like that. D major down to A, back to B. Love the dynamics. This bass groove is just, I don't know what word I'm looking for. I'm kind of liking that raw sound a bit more when those other elements come in. When it goes back to just the bass and the drums and the vocals, it just has this really raw sound. I think that's more like the effect he's going for at that tone. I mean, he could have put anything on this tone, a chorus, flanger, some compression to kind of tighten it up. It's kind of woofy, especially those fast notes kind of just go woo, woo, woo. You're not really hearing a lot of definition. But I think knowing enough about Steven and just hearing him talk about production in interviews, I mean, everything is like very intentional. At least that's what I think. So it's interesting to hear a tone like this, but I like that it adds just a weird dimension to the song and some really interesting kind of chord changes there. We went up to D major, down to A major, turn around to the B, which is sort of in B minor. But I'm hearing some accidentals. Went up to an E, then an F, then we had a C natural in there. So a lot of just kind of half-step tension here, which is working perfectly with the sounds Richard, I believe is his name, is using. Pretty cool.
Just gotta take it, take it, take it. Like the Harridan you are.
To E, F. Half steps. 2 half steps. That sounded like E, F, G, and G sharp. Kind of really building to that D major sort of chorus here, which is really dynamically awesome. It just hits. Yeah, there's those half steps again. That was a quick guitar change. Okay, whole different thing here. G, down to E. G. Okay. That's kind of cool. Listen to that kick pattern. That's mimicking the chorus. And I want to comment again that the way that chorus comes in, it's intense. All the layers hit. It's just big impact. But they change up the phrasing immediately. It goes to that kind of quarter note triplet. The dun-ka-dun-dun-ka-dun-dun-ka-dun-dun-ka-dun-dun. Hemiola, 2 against 3 kind of thing. The kick pattern's doing that here. It's kind of calling back to that. It's interesting how they'll take a weird kind of knee-jerk rhythm motif like that, and then sprinkle it in a little later, and it's like, where have I heard that? Good writing. I've always loved the kind of really Easter egg kind of nuance. Steven Wilson, I mean, it's all over his solo records, which is why I really admire him as a songwriter. And this kind of has a bit of a flair of his solo sound, if I'm being honest. Three, 4, 5, 1, 2, 4. Still in 5. Yeah, this is kind of like solo type of sound. Pretty cool. What? I did not expect that. That was such a tease. We got Genty there for a minute. Still in B. That was cool. I was expecting to come back in on that chorus. Ooh, that's really neat. Did not expect it to go there. All right. He's doing the same thing again there. He's kind of hearkening back to the feel of the chorus, the 2 against 3 thing. He's really sticking with that, kind of injecting it in every subsequent section. That's cool. Now he's kind of moving that bass riff up, kind of up a fourth. It was kind of hard to make out some of the notes. It was a really fast bass riff. I'm just talking about the intro. Now he's kind of, seems like he just moved it up a fourth to E. Sounds like he's kind of going between that minor and that major third, kind of giving it a little tension. But I can hear the note definition a little bit better now. I'm still not super sold on that tone just as a bass player, but it certainly has enough bottom end to really fill it out. So I'm not mad about that. And surprisingly, it worked really well in that kind of, we got Meshuggah there for a second. Really cool. Kind of works here. What a polyrhythm king he is. And it sounds so fluid. There's a C natural in there, so it's kind of out of B minor. Interesting. Okay. I'm expecting this to really come in and hit now. A little bit of a build. Back to those half steps. Just that hi-hat is just keeping me together. It almost sounds like it went back to a 5 or a 4. Kind of stopped listening to the time signature, but he just puts any other hits outside of that hi-hat in such natural places, I suppose, that, I mean, he could be in so many different time signatures, and it just, it's not like anything he's doing on the drums is distracting me. You know, sometimes you hear like a prog song and like the phrasing is distracting because it's an odd meter, and you're kind of like, oh, that's got to be in 7. It sounds kind of quirky, and you go 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1. Oh, that's in 7. I never hear that in a Porcupine Tree song. It all sounds so natural that I almost have to start counting and go, that's a very natural sounding 9/8. I have no idea. But nothing is jumping out of his drum part to tell me it's an odd time signature. I think that's the biggest cool factor about Gavin Harrison playing these songs. Really, just a machine of tasteful technicality. I've never really heard someone bridge those two so well. I mean, there's a couple guys, but he's one of my favorites. So I'm kind of listening for how these riff notes, that bass riff is kind of locking in with that hi-hat part now. I'm getting really deep here, but I know they're kind of, this is a segue into another part because we still have 2 minutes left. So let's see. Talking about this right here. Going down the half steps like we were a while back. F sharp. E. Like that. That's cool. Okay, real quick. I'm putting these notes together. Almost has like a B Locrian feel. Like we're in C major, but we're just starting on the 7th degree, and it gives it those close half steps going up. Then I hear that F sharp in there, so it could really be anywhere. Not trying to make this too much about the theory of what they're doing, because there's a lot of out of key notes just thrown in there for more of an effect. You know, little bits of tension. I always talk about that. But it's a really nice flavor because I didn't really detect that as much in the early bass riff. So slight maybe tonal change center here, and it can get really cluttered in an artistic way with all the different layers coming from the keys. Just, again, a lot of solo Steven elements have crept back in, which is pretty cool. I'm okay with that. Wow. Man, those drums just sound incredible. There's such an earthy drum sound. There it was. That made me smile. I knew they were going to come in and hit me with that again, but they took me way out left and just went right back to that chorus. Again, back with that 2 against 3 phrasing, which you start getting not used to it the more they kind of just ride that hi-hat. You're not feeling any sort of hemiola. You're not hearing anything contrasting rhythmically, despite he might be doing some odd time signatures, but it's very smooth, and it comes in with that riveting just meter change. I really like that. You know, most of the time people will go to a chorus and like go into some chord they haven't gone into yet. They might change a key right on the chorus, but to change like the meter, if you can call it meter, it's just it's going from a straight feel now to a hemiola against what it was doing. That's how it sounds to me. That's a cool effect. Big fan of that. You don't hear that a ton. I want to hear him go into that again. Buttery. Little rolls in there. Buttery rolls. I'm hungry. That's cool. That's cool. Vocal melody on the guitar for a second. I like that.
It's the time of the almost rain without you. I am in debt tonight. I'm going to for love, light, the shadow. What of us, but what of me, but what is left without you?
That's really nice. You know, for a second there, I thought that F sharp minor was out of key. If my ear's based around G major, which it kind of went from a G major down to an E minor. So I'm like, that F sharp minor has the C sharp in it, which is not in the key of G. But then I realized he's been in the same key this whole time. This song is in a B minor. It's that bass intro. The chorus is in D, has the A major, which is the 5. But I thought he went to G here, but this is actually just modal. He's actually starting on the 2 in D major. So if we're in D major, the 2 is just an E minor. The 3 is the F sharp minor. That's where that comes in. And then the 4 chord is the major. So he's starting this little ballad passage on the end here on the 2nd degree. And it kind of tricked me into thinking it was in G major because it would be G major, E minor. That's a pretty common back and forth thing. That's really clever, but it's like a really smooth way to make it sound like he changed keys there because those chords are kind of stark, just the G. Because normally it would walk down like this with the first inversion D major. But he's putting that minor in there. I don't know, really cool texture and color for this ending part. Very, very nice. Let me kind of hear that play out there because...
What is left without you?
let me go back a bit more and hear that last phrase. Yeah. That was sneaky. It's like a Diablo 2 chord there. If you know, you know. Awesome. I'm sure the album audio version is great, but this really allowed me to kind of wrap my head around the layering going on. You know, Steven was switching bass and multiple guitars. I think he had 3, 4 guitars and bass. So it kind of showed all the different layering that is probably on the record that might have been more in the background and a little more inconspicuous. And, you know, all the different stuff the keys player was doing. And this is a real trip. I definitely feel like this has some of that solo album, solo era Steven Wilson influence, which, I mean, arguably Porcupine Tree was his solo project too, because a lot of people call it that. So it's all under the umbrella of his creative vision and songwriting, but I've kind of appreciated the way he's gotten away from prog a little bit on his solo stuff. I know that's been pretty polarizing for the fans, especially the To the Bone record, songs like Permeating, which I really like. They're really refreshing to hear him kind of in a different territory. And that, to me, that's what true progressive music really is. You know, there's that debate about, is it progressive or is it prog? I hear that debate a lot. What does it mean to be prog versus progressive? But I think Steven has a really healthy balance of incorporating those classic Porcupine Tree elements that were kind of always there, but with some new sounds. So I'm a big fan. I'm just salty about Colin not being involved. I think he would have laid down some great stuff on this. There was nothing wrong with this bass track or the parts of performance. It served the song really well. Interesting tone choice, but Colin had a really warm, kind of smooth sound. I just was always really drawn to that in the, you know, the age of really gritty bass tones. I always liked his kind of soothing, mellow bass tones. Yeah, I'm salty he's not back. Please make sure you subscribe, like the video, and honestly, guys, prior to In Absentia, I've not listened to a lot of Porcupine Tree, so if there's any early bass lines from those 90s records I should check out, let me know. But cheers, love you all, and we will see you next time.